I think we are live. Hello, everybody. This is Scott, and this is Corvin from Tail Raven Tarot. And I'm so happy to have her or have them here today. So I appreciate them coming on. And first, what I wanted to do is just say hi to everybody. So let me scroll up, and I think most of you know how to chat, John. So I hope I don't miss anyone. Um, So, Corbin, we have Jackie first in. And hi, Jackie. And Jackie's actually helping me with links and stuff like that. So, that's awesome. We appreciate you. Nancy is here. Yay. Hey, Nancy from the Crohn's Intuition. Let's see. Patrice is here. Hey, Patrice. And Gerald's here. Hey, Gerald. And Hannah's here. Yes, and it is 5 o'clock in the morning in Australia. How awesome is it that she's here? All right, just make sure. Regina is here. Hey, Regina. Hey, Ben. Glad you could make it. Okay, and just scrolling, making sure I didn't miss anybody. I think we're good.
Awesome.
Okay. So first of all, I explained to Corvin, my throat is, I woke up with a little bit of a sore throat this morning. So if I sound really creepy and, kind of like I'm from a horror film, that's why. But what we wanted to do, and I did ask Corvin about this as well, is we want to, take your questions definitely. But if we could just stay on topic is the only thing we ask, because this is a very, I think, important topic, and that I wanted to, do this discussion with someone for a while. And, after watching their videos, so there's no better person to do this with than Courtney. So I'm just going to go through the questions that I have. You guys know I have to read or I get all scatterbrained. So first of all, Corbin, welcome.
Thank you.
Yes, absolutely. And my first question to you is how, and we're going to get into, in case you missed the topic, I think everybody saw it though, is the LGBTQ plus community and the tarot and spirituality, and how those are attracted to one another or not. So the first question I have, kind of going, before this, is I was wanting to know, like, how did you think growing up as an LGBTQ plus or queer person? How did you feel different than other people?
I never felt like I really fit what a proper little girl was supposed to do. When I played house, I was the dad, and we would play Saved by the Bell, and I would be Zach Morris, and it was
Awesome. Wow.
I hated. Now I kind of love to be femme sometimes, but I hated the dresses and the tights and everything I had to wear to church on Sundays. And I was very much a tomboy as a kid, and I just didn't fit what in the 80s everyone seemed to think a little girl should be. So I always felt like an outsider.
Yeah, definitely. And my answer would be almost the exact same. I grew up I always knew even in kindergarten, that I was different. I wanted to play with the girls, not with the boys, but the boys were kind of, fascinating too as well for me, but in different ways. So I knew from a very early age that I was different.
And I think we were both raised Baptist, right?
Yes, we were. Absolutely. And it was just, I was talking to someone about this earlier. It was pretty much looked upon like just homosexuality in general was looked at as pretty much up there with murder. Like that was how it was described to me as I was growing up. And when I was called those things, it just made me feel more than different. It made me feel like I was just an outsider. again, not fitting in. My mom would not let me have Barbie dolls, so I would like play with my friends on the bus with their Barbie dolls. It was, I never did feel, like I fit in, like you're saying. So I think we're very similar there, and a lot of us in our queer community are like that. So going kind of into that a little bit more, when you were coming out, did you come out to any certain members of your family like first? And if yes, did you ask them to keep it maybe secret from others in the family or other people out of fear or insecurity or acceptance? Um, yeah.
Yeah, well, I accidentally came out to my brother and his then girlfriend, now wife. They were high school sweethearts, dating since they were 15. So she's basically like my sister, because we also grew up together. But they visited me when I was studying abroad in Paris, my junior year of college, and they I had a shaved head and I was dressing very butch, and they discovered my like cache of lesbian books. And my brother was like, "But you're not gay though, right?" I'm like, yeah, but don't tell mom and dad.
Right.
And he was he's still very conservative, but he's more like socially liberal, I guess. So they've always been accepting, he and his wife. So, but yeah, I was a couple years until I told my parents.
Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah. And again, I can totally relate to that. Like, I came out to my sister first, and I remember to this day, she told me, she said, "You can never let mom and dad know." She said, "You have to take this to your grave." Well, that soon changed because my mom found out by accident, and so that was blown. And then, with my dad, it took me at least a year, and I just remember being so conflicted about it that even though I hadn't gone through a spiritual awakening at the time, I had a synchronicity. One morning I was thinking about it so hard, and on the radio, it just so happened there was a morning show with with someone who had a queer family member, and they said that they, felt that if they hid that from them, it was almost like they were almost lying in a way because they weren't showing who they really were. And that morning, I said, I know I have to talk to my dad tonight. I know I have to. I know I have to tell him. And I actually called him and told him, and I turned around the car 3 times and went back. And then when I finally did, and I finally told him, I mean, my dad is wonderful. He's a very stern kind of guy. I mean, he's a man's man, kind of guy, masculine. I thought, I'm going to be disinherited. Yeah, I'm going to be completely disinherited. He's never going to speak to me again. And when I told him, he started crying. I had never seen my dad cry except for at my grandmother's funeral. And I was like freaking out. And I literally started getting off the couch because I was just going to go. I'm like, I'm done. And he's like, no, you need to sit back. He said, I need to explain to you. I'm not upset. And he did ask me who all knew. Told him pretty much the whole family. And he said, I'm not upset. I'm not crying because you're gay. He said, I'm upset because you took so long to tell me.
Yeah, that was really similar to my family too. When I told them, they were upset that I thought that they would disown me. And
yes.
Although they also said, like, we don't care that you're gay, we just don't want to talk about it. And you shouldn't tell your grandparents.
Right.
So.
Yeah, definitely. And did you feel that your relationship with your parents when you did tell them, or your family, got stronger, or stayed the same, or was that?
It was really rough for about 10 years after. It was good that I knew that they knew. Wait, it was good that that they knew, and that I knew that they wouldn't reject me over that. But around that time was when the gay marriage debate was really ramping up in the States. And it was around like 2005 ish. And for the next like 10 years, they were just really, they're very strict Republicans, like very strong Republicans. And that made a lot of distance between us, because I always wished that they would, show that they loved me by not voting for bigots. But so there was a lot of distance after that, and they're still they still do that. But I think that the climate has changed so much around LGBTQ issues that they have come a long way towards acceptance and understanding the issues, and
Right.
so.
Yeah, I agree completely. Like my parents were the same way. It took my mom about 10 years. And my dad was like instantly like, I don't care. I love you. And that's it. And now we know something more about you, So going from there, I just wanted to ask, so how do you think, let me ask this first about the spirituality. How do you think spirituality is attractive or even healing for the queer community in general?
Well, I think, so many of us have had experiences like you and I have had, where we were not in a supportive environment growing up in terms of queerness or transness or anything. So finding or seeking out different faiths or spiritual ways. I think all humans are spiritual beings. Whether you're religious or not could be a different thing, but I've always been deeply religious and spiritual, but I just have struggled to find the right venue for that. And I think depriving queer folks of a connection to divine or the universe or a higher power, or however you conceive of it, is such a violence that's done, So I think we have to seek out alternatives, and that's partly why so many of us are drawn to, witchcraft or any other sort of or earth-based spirituality, alternative spirituality, new age stuff. It is because we didn't find that outlet that we needed in whatever faith it was that we were raised in.
Right. So how would you, if I substituted the word spirituality with tarot, how do you think that would be more attractive to people in our community, in the queer community, or for you in general, than maybe a general person, just
Yeah.
I won't say normal, but from someone else?
Yeah. Well, I think similarly, it's a way to, I think tarot is very spiritual. I know it isn't for everyone, but it's another way to connect and learn more about ourselves. I saw some quote somewhere, and I'm not going to be able to remember it exactly, but it's that like queer people are not raised to be themselves. They have to discover who they are on their own, because they're not raised. It's changing a lot now for kids growing up now, but we didn't have models of how to be a queer adult, when we were kids. So we have to find other ways of tuning in to who we are and what we want out of life, and how to make meaning in our life. So I think there's a natural connection to tarot in that way. And I think that like having done so much, inevitably we'll have been doing so much like self-reflection to discover our queerness, that we are already kind of attuned to that self-exploration, that tarot is a great way to plug into that.
Yeah, I totally agree as well. And my answer would be that the spiritual community has no judgment. It doesn't judge each other for the most part, and we are not looked bad as being different were actually looked at as that being a gift. And that's what drew me in, to spirituality and to tarot as well. But do you think that we are more intuitive because of the sensitivities that we've gone through in our life? And if so, why?
I think we have greater capacity to be. It's probably not universal, but I think that, yeah, for the most part, in general, we're already more open to our intuition, having to tune into and recognizing usually from a young age that something didn't fit. So we have to tune into ourselves and that intuition. Sorry if my dog he's playing in the background. I'm sorry if it's like really annoying for viewers, the squeaky toy.
Yeah, I love that. So no problem for me.
Okay.
Please continue.
But yeah, so yeah, I think that we do tend to be more intuitive because we're naturally just tuned in.
Right. I did want to mention, it looks like there's a comment here. She said, right, Corvin, similarly, my mom told me not to tell my dad because he didn't want to know about that gay stuff. She was protecting herself, I realize now. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And another thing, I was just going to say, my answer is kind of maybe. And the reason why it's maybe is because you can go through a different journey by being straight and still have, a really negative, childhood and being brought up. It's not just because you're queer. So mine is maybe. I think we do have a tendency to, be a little bit more intuitive as a whole, maybe. But I think that's for most minorities. And I think that almost all of us in some way or another have felt left out or, something like that they need to overcome in their life to get to that better place.
Yeah, totally agree.
Yeah. So, addiction in the community. Do you think there is more, and if so, why? That could be the drugs, alcohol.
I mean, yeah, we know studies have shown that there's a much greater incidence of addiction in the LGBTQ community, which makes sense. Being rejected, being often, thank you. So yeah, we know that that's true. I think just thinking about my own friend group, I know that there's a lot of my friends who are recovering from addiction. And I think anytime that you're seeking some way to get some need fulfilled or to drown your sorrows or whatever it is, there's going to be a higher propensity toward that. Yeah.
I agree 100%. So when I came out of Christian, just went buck wild, and went down to Florida and partied my butt off, and but I was introduced really quickly to the drug scene, to the alcohol scene, and it was like everybody was doing it, and that's one reason I moved back up here, is to distance myself from that, because I no longer resonated with that, and I wanted to find something different because of all the negative side effects that those things do have. They're just it's like a Band-Aid when you're not, it's just putting a Band-Aid on something that really needs to heal. And so do you think that tarot could be kind of looked at as a positive addiction that would help us substitute those negative addictions that other people tend to go towards in the queer community? I know that's not.
Yeah. I mean, I think anything can be addictive, but yeah, I think that you could take that energy or whatever need that you're trying to fill through drugs and alcohol. And I had a year also when I lived in Florida that was I was really close to the edge, and I was able to pull myself back. But yeah, I mean, I know that turned to tarot when I would have maybe turned to a bottle when I was younger.
Yep.
And it's definitely a healthier way of dealing with things.
Definitely, definitely. And it's all, for me, it's a lot about transmutation, right? So you can transmute the energy, and instead of going to those things like drugs and alcohol, whatever it can be, you can transmute that and put your energy into tarot or just, all different forms of enlightenment. And I think it's healthier because I think it brings us closer to source. It's not that, we're better than the people that are drug addicts and everything else like that.
Right.
I mean,
Right.
it's not true, in my opinion. It's just that we're at different levels, right? And we all have our own journeys to take. So, yeah, absolutely. I think that was a beautiful answer that you gave, though. Thank you. So, what does the rainbow flag mean to you?
I had, you know what, when you asked me this the other day, I had looked up the actual meaning of all the colors, and now, of course, can I remember? No. But I love rainbows. When I was in college, my dorm room was like an explosion of rainbows. It's just so happy and positive, and it's such a symbol of, I don't know, like I remember being a closeted little kid, and I mean a teenager, I guess, and I would see the rainbow flags in like a shop window or something, and I would get so excited, like, my people. So it just, it's great to have a symbol of connection and safety. And I always have a rainbow pin on my teacher bag so that students know, without me necessarily having to say something, because I teach at a Catholic university, so it's pretty conservative. But it's, that I can just kind of flag that I'm a member of the tribe, a member of the community, as well, and I'm a safe person for them. I mean, I typically do end up telling them at some point in the semester, but it's still nice to have a visual symbol, So, yeah, I love the new rainbow flag that includes the black and brown stripes as well. I guess it's the Philadelphia flag, it's called now, just to like center.
I don't know that I see that. I would love for you can send that to me. So
it's a way to kind of make sure to remember and center people of color in our communities.
Yeah.
Someday I want to get a pride flag for my house, and then I'm surrounded by Trump supporters, and so I could fly that and see what they think. But
so, what does it like symbolize for you? Like as far as after you have came out and now that you're fully embracing who you are, what does that symbolize to you?
Just acceptance and community and pride.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree completely. And what I put down is that my childhood and like my teenage years, they when I look back on them, because I was trying so hard to fit in, and I was feeling like this childhood stuff that you go through when you're a queer person. And it kind of is black and white to me, if that makes any sense. It's like all that energy was so low, and I was so caught up in my head with stuff that was not true, that I look back on that time and it's like a black and white dull image. And so the flag is an explosion of me being able to be myself, being able to be me, being able to share that with people and not be scared, for my life or whatever it is. Just being able to be more confident in who I am as a person and not be ashamed. Like you're saying, the pride, it's not being ashamed. And see any of my videos, I'm like, I love bright colors. And I think life was devoid of so much bright colors. Even in the 80s, when you see the bright colors, I wasn't allowed to wear stuff like that.
Yeah.
My mom, you'll look like a sissy. You can't. And everybody knows, who knows me, that I love my mom more than anything. And she did come around in her, later on. But, I was raised Baptist, and boys wear blue, and, that is still my favorite color. Boys wear blue, and, you needed to look and talk and wear certain things. And for the rainbow flag, it just shows me that I can be whatever I want. I can be me.
Yeah. I think too, like there was something about being Baptist that you weren't supposed to be ostentatious. And I remember wearing a lot of pastel muted colors when I was a kid too. None of this bright color stuff.
Right.
The girl.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. And, I don't know. I remember wanting to, play with my, my Barbies, like I was talking about. I wanted to play with my sister's Barbies, and they, my mom would lock the door so I couldn't get in there to them. It was just highly discouraged. And when I first came out in Florida, I was like, I'll show her, and this is before my spiritual awakening. I'm like, I'll show her. So I started collecting Barbies. I think I had like 150 at one time. It was just ridiculous, right? I'd have my little Miss Universe pageants and that going on. But I also wanted to mention to you, so I know you did, I hope this is okay. I know you describe yourself as non-binary, correct? Mm-hmm. So for me, I'm very close to that as well. Even though I'm comfortable with the he, him, that's fine with me. There are parts of me, that are feminine. I love beauty pageants. I love, things like that you would attribute to a girl growing up, right? But I also like football. I also like to, I don't know. I used to work out, just things that people would classify, as masculine and feminine. And I remember back, I don't do this anymore, but back when I was, would go on to Grindr or some of these websites, the first thing you get asked, mask or femme? And I'm like, neither, bye. Neither. Because I don't feel like I'm either. I'm me. So do you kind of feel similar to that, or what?
Yeah,
what
definitely. Definitely. And that's what I like about the term non-binary is that, some days I feel more femme, some days I feel more butch. When I was younger, I was very, very butch, and I was, I had a shaved head. I dressed very masculine, and some days I want to wear a dress, and I just don't feel like I fit into those binary, like either or genders. And the identification of non-binary is still fairly new, recent for me. I think it was like 2018 that I started identifying that way, because it wasn't something that I was even aware of. It wasn't how, even with transgender stuff, like growing up in the queer community, it was, even trans stuff was binary when in my communities when I was coming up in the queer community. So you were either like a trans man or a trans woman, or a cis man or a cis woman, but there wasn't a lot of the fluidity that there is. I mean, I think there was, but we didn't talk about it as much, or we didn't have the same language for it, at least that I was aware of. So it's been great I'm learning so much from the kids these days. And I feel like it's freedom for me to just say, I don't have to, be one or the other. I can just be me.
Be you. Yeah, absolutely. I completely agree, because, we come from a time, I know you mentioned the 80s, and I was raised in the 80s. I've got this, my chat's jumping. So I want to put Hen on alert there. But, I was raised in the 80s just like you were, and it was, I've already said it before, but it was a time where we couldn't express really who we were. It was more you're defined that you're supposed to be like this. Whether you fit in or not, you still need to be. And if you're not, you're a freak. So, and I know not all cultures are like that. And I think now, it's so much more accepted, even up here, Not a lot, but I could go out in my rainbow pants. I have my pants on right now. I go outside and I don't care. I don't give a damn at this point. So, but, I would never be able to do that like 20, 30 years ago up here. So I don't know if you came from a similar community, that expected, to you to fit that kind of role.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I grew up in a tiny rural Iowa town, and Iowa has changed a lot since I was growing up, although unfortunately it's kind of backsliding. It had gotten, I mean, in 2009, we were one of the first states to legalize gay marriage through a court case.
Right.
But then, since then, there's been nonstop fighting to undo it. So, and we're a very red state again, and we used to be at least more purple. But yeah, I definitely feel more. I don't know. I mean, I feel more comfortable than I live in a bigger city now than I did when I was growing up.
Wow.
So that's a big difference. And like the synagogue that I attend is very queer friendly. I think all of my conversion class. Oh, Bennett, stop. I think all of us are trans or queer in some way. But so that's really nice. And yeah, so in some ways it's changed, and in some ways it's still, there's definitely times when I don't feel safe, and I'm glad that I can pass for safety if I have to, certain areas of town or circumstances.
Yeah. I definitely identify as that, to having to do that in certain areas. Yeah, the cities seem to be so much more open for the most part, So when I moved to Florida, it was just like a liberation. I'm like, I can walk down the street and hold hands with my boyfriend. I mean, I could do that 20 years ago in Florida in a city, but I can't do that up here today, in a rural area. So I did want to get to, now I think this is your first time in my lives, at least, Aquamarine 18. Is this Laura? I saw some people say Laura. Is that Laura? Laura, I'm so glad you're here. Thank you for joining us. So Laura says spirituality, I think, is challenging. So many of us have left non-inclusive religions, it's like we're talking about, and LGBTQ communities as a result can at times, I found, look down on spirituality and religion. So what would you respond to on that question?
I think that's definitely true. I mean, anyone who's watched my channel knows that I'm going through this conversion to Judaism. And I have gotten so much pushback from my queer community, like my friends, about that. And, even though I'm converting through the most progressive stream of Judaism, that, like I said, my synagogue is totally queer friendly. It's very liberating. But there's still this sense of like, well, why do you need that? Why do you need religion? Like, religion is this outdated thing that you shouldn't need. And I mean, everyone should do what works for them. But I do think, like I said earlier, that it's a very common human need to want to connect with something bigger than ourselves. However we do that. And I don't think that we should, I think it's, I mean, I consider myself pretty smart and worldly and knowledgeable, but sometimes that's equated with, you shouldn't be religious if you're intelligent. And that really bothers me too. And I feel that those go hand in hand. Sometimes, like Laura said, if you've left a oppressive religion, you feel like you've seen the light, you've come out of, the darkness that you were in. And I think that has a lot more to do with fundamentalism than religion itself. And religion, like anything, can be used as a tool to oppress people. But I don't think that religion, faith, spirituality is inherently homophobic or, and Judaism is totally about inquiry and asking questions and pushing back against God, and so it's so different, completely different from Christianity that I was raised with. But Laura's totally right. There's a lot of looking down on religion in a lot of LGBTQ communities.
Yeah, definitely. Great answer. So Justin Michael's here. Hey, I'm saying hi to a few as we're going through here. So I hope I haven't missed anybody. Jackie, let me know. Jackie's my henchman or whatever you're, the hench person. She's gonna show us who if I missed anything. So Justin Michael says I've noticed an increase in anti-gay sentiment, much more so than 10 years ago. I think it's because of the I don't know if I would say that word, politicization of sexuality. What do you think about that?
Totally agree. Yeah. Yeah, that's what I meant when I was saying that, like, my state has, like, backslid into being less tolerant. I think the Trump era in the States ushered in this, like, approval of and even, like, bravado about intolerance,
Yep.
which is really sad, and it's going to take a long time to undo.
Yeah, I totally agree as well. Yeah, I think that we kind of been on a roller coaster ride, maybe, with how
Patrice,
it's accepted.
Patrice said, I think we're going through a period of non-acceptance in general.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I agree with that completely too, Patrice. And I have a job in sales, and that would be the last career I would think I would ever want to do because I was so shy growing up. But anyway, I noticed that before COVID, before the protests, before everything happened, people were just more friendly. And now that we've been going through all this, and I'm not saying one thing, I'm just saying all these things that we've been going through at this time, like Patrice was saying, like I get cussed out on a daily basis now. Like people are just mad. They're not in a good state. They're not in a good place in general. And I think that's why I find it so fortunate and lucky to have this community and this, the spirituality that I have, so that I can go to, that I can still feel whole inside and good inside about myself and about, just, the community and everything in general. Let's see here. Did I miss any? Oh, now Tangi is here. Hey, Tangi, you're jumping. I'm trying to get you up there. Hey, she's working on her spaceship.
Hen had a question too.
Tangi. Ben did?
Hen.
Hen. Okay, let me get back to that. I think I got it. Thank you for keeping me on track there. All right. So, what is the trans community like there? For my trans clients, it seems like a large portion of it here where I live is very toxic. Okay, we're going to give this one to you.
Yeah, it's still tough, and I am not out at work for that reason. Iowa does have a statewide non-discrimination law, thank goodness. We're one of the few states that does. So, so that's good. But it's rough. I mean, I have a friend who had her trans flag during Pride Month ripped down from her house. And, it's funny. They left the rainbow flag, but they ripped the trans flag down. Not funny, but
isn't that weird?
So, yeah, and I there's even like with my parents, and I'm not out to them as non-binary at all. I don't feel like I'm secure. It's still so new for me that I feel like I need to be in a place where I can explain it to myself better before I try to talk to them about it. But my dad and they just really don't understand it at all. They really struggle with that, and it's hard to find. I know Hen is a therapist, and it's very hard to find a therapist that is trans affirming here.
Sure.
So, yeah.
Yeah, I know just what you're saying about the trans therapist. I would probably have to go 2 to 3 hours out of state or out of this area, to find somebody like that. So, so Anne said hello to you. I hope you saw. Anne says human beings require connection to one another, connection to nature, connection to a higher source, however you define that. Right. I mean, I definitely just agree with this so much. This just the communication that we're having. For me, it heals me. It makes me more confident in who I am, to know that I'm not the only one that struggles, right? And that there are people out there like Ange, like all of you in the community, who get us and don't label us as weird or this or that, but are accepting instead. Do you have any thoughts on that one?
I totally agree.
Let's see. I'm just looking here for the questions. Okay, so Patrice. Living in the South at this time feels a bit dangerous, even in our more progressive area of Asheville. And Patrice, I am not too far from Asheville. I'm about 3 hours, but I'm going. You just would have to, instead of going towards the city, just go straight into the middle of the mountains, and you'll probably find me. So yeah, it can be dangerous even here, even though they are more accepting. And I think you were saying the same thing of Iowa, right?
Yeah,
That can be. And let's see, Laura. I've experienced that too. Like, oh, you're superstitious, you know better kind of attitude. Yeah. Right. Okay, let's see here. My chat's jumping. So Hen says, it just blows my mind how people who have gone through the same struggles are so quick to turn on each other here. And that is a big reason why I do not have a lot of gay friends, or queer friends, is because it's almost like we've been, and tell me if it's different for you, but it's almost like we've been judged so much through our whole life that when we get into a community together, it's almost natural for us to want to judge other people and make us feel better about ourselves by putting down other people. And I saw that so much, in Florida with cliques that would happen, and, gay cliques, and then they would not talk to anybody else, or, you had to be part of that certain, group or dress a certain way still. And I'm like, you've been judged all your life. Why are you putting that into, your newfound experience of having freedom? I don't think it's about judging. Maybe it's just me. What do you think?
Well, most of what I don't have local, much of a local queer community aside from people I'm now meeting, but all of my friends from grad school are queer, so it was easier to find like-minded people when I was already in like a sort of self-selected group in grad school. I mean, there's a lot of queer poets, so, and I studied poetry, so. And I was lucky. I sought out queer poets, and I came to poetry through queerness, which is a whole other story in and of itself. But so that has always been intertwined for me. So I'm lucky to have a lot of wonderful queer friends. But I totally know what you mean. Like in college, I always wanted to be friends with the cool group of lesbians that dressed all in black and smoked, and they were way too cool for me. And they all, had the same look, and I was never good enough for them, and it just sucked. And I've gotten over that now. I have found my people now, but I do wish they were local to me, because it's hard to have all your closest friendships be long distance.
Oh yeah, definitely. I found that out too. Being back up here in the mountains, as opposed to Florida, because we just don't have a community up here, gay people or queer people and all. I definitely understand that. It's just about finding people that you kind of click with in a way, but being accepting of others, to be part of that as well. And I think that's why I was so drawn to the spiritual community, because I was accepted as I am, who I am, by so many people, so many of those of you in chat, and you, Corvin, have been so loving. I've only been in this community for a couple months, maybe 3 months, and I've been as new as well.
You're barking at yourself, buddy.
We were just, accepted. And that means such a big deal, because when you go through your whole life not being accepted, it's a good thing. But I had, a kind of weird experience in Florida, because I found, and I was in the middle of Tampa, in the Tampa Bay area. So they had a pretty large, queer community, that I found myself drawn more to the lesbians than I did to the gay men. And I'm still not sure exactly why, except for when I was dating them, of course,
Yeah.
But when I just found it, and my gay, the gay guy friends me, why are you with the lesbians all the time? Like, because I like the same things they like. I'm gonna go to their football parties. I'm gonna sit around like I identify with them more. That's just me. I don't know. And I really didn't get into art like that until I discovered tarot. So I wasn't, and all those, stereotypical things that you find. But I think that even in the gay community, they expect you, if you're a gay male, to be either masculine or feminine, and you're going to be put in that box. And I was like, I'm not in either. So I'm going to go hang out with girls. And if they have drama, it ain't about me. So I don't care.
Yeah. Yeah. It's funny, because when I was, actually, some of my two best friends are gay guys. And I didn't have much of a lesbian community, like when I was first coming out. So I was friends with all gay guys, and they're still some of my best friends. And it's funny that, now I definitely feel like at home in the lesbian community, but it's interesting, like the ways in which I definitely think I just didn't, being non-binary, in the late 90s, early aughts, there was something about me that didn't quite fit in some way. And now I think the communities have expanded a lot more, or been more expansive, and it's not as cliquey as it was, at least in the communities that I'm in. And I'm really glad to have the friends that I do. But yeah, I totally know what you're talking about. And it can be definitely very cliquey and exclusive like that sometimes.
Yeah. So Robin says, we never seem to be able to get away from us versus them isms. Whatever your us or them is. Yeah, it's always like you have to have an enemy, right? You have to have somebody that's different. And then Justin Michael says, let's see, lots of hypocrisy in the gay community. Yep, just look on Grindr. I'm 100% supportive of trans folks. I support the rights of all. I personally don't understand the language battle. Yeah. And it's like people, it's like if you try to have a conversation with somebody, and that's why I don't go on Grindr anymore, because it's all just about sex. I don't know if there's an equal thing for other, but that's mainly for the, gay guys. And I'm just like, I don't know. Am I weird that I'm not obsessed with sex and wanting to see penis photos everywhere? Like, I want to see your face. I want to see what you look like. I want to see behind that. I want you to tell me what you like, what you dislike, that type of thing. And, it's weird. But I will be honest, when I first went down to Florida, I was like, oh, he's cute. Because it was just a rush of like, oh, I can be open and just, find a boyfriend. But now, as I've gotten a little bit more mature, it's like, the outside does not matter to me so much less than it used to. It's what's on the inside. It's what's on the inside. What makes you click? Because this is going to go away. How you look now is going to go away. And what do you think about that? Like, what are your thoughts on that?
I agree. I definitely, when I was first coming out and went to college, and I went to college in Vermont, which was it was still very rural, but it was a very different environment than what I grew up in. And I was in college. And so I definitely went, girl crazy, I guess I'd say. But I feel like, I mean, I'm almost 40 now, and I definitely feel like I have aged out of in a good way, of the drama of online dating. I have no desire to do that. And I feel like the few times I've tried since moving here, everyone has just been so much younger than me, and I'm like, okay, if they're my age or a little older, they're married. The lesbians settle down and stay married. So yeah, so that's been a little bit hard, but I definitely don't want to date like a 24-year-old or something. So but it's nice to feel like I'm in a different phase of my life right now.
Right. Yeah, definitely. So Jackie redirected me. I think that's the question, but there was one before. Is Ange Scott, do you have incense burning over there? Am I seeing spirits? No, I have rose incense going on. I would love if there was some cool spirits around, but yeah. Jackie, let me know if this is the right question, because I went back to the 342 mark. So Patrice says, actually, I think intolerance is a better term for this period. I agree. I definitely feel it as a lesbian in a biracial marriage. We have a wonderful community that have to remain aware of our surroundings. Absolutely. Yeah.
Jackie, I know I'm not old. I'm saying I'm older than when I was in my 20s, and I'm happy to be in a different phase of my life.
Right. Right. And Hen says it just blows my mind how people who have gone through. Oh, we already did that one. Okay, that's shaft jumping.
Oh, I know, it's hard to keep up.
Yeah, they get that. Most people understand they've had StreamYard, and I think I'm at the bottom. Let's see. So yeah, Jackie, let me know, or Nancy, if you're still here, let me know if I've missed anything here. I do see a comment that I didn't see before from Mel. I have been a for decades now, not LGTB or not LGT or B, but A. Gay friends tell me I fit in, but I don't know where I am, and I really don't care. I mean, yeah, sometimes you can't be put, you can't be put in a box, can you? I mean, it's just like I was saying when people were, go on the internet. Are you more masculine or feminine? I don't know. I'm me. I'm me. Neither. So.
Yeah, I'm assuming A for asexual. Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, and I identify as somewhere on the asexual spectrum. I like to say, like, I'm not interested in dating anyone except for the rare times that I am, and then I'm really into them. But yeah, it's sad that there is still so much there's not as much acceptance, and there's that argument about whether asexual folks belong in the queer community, which of course we do. But yeah, it can definitely feel, when everyone is obsessed with being coupled up, it can be hard. I'm happy to be single,
Right.
relieved to be single. I was in an abusive marriage for 3 years. I don't want to date anyone anymore, but yeah, it can be definitely another way of feeling left out.
Yeah, definitely. And I've been single for, I think, like 16 years. It's just ridiculous. But a lot of that's by choice and a lot of that's by circumstance. Because, it's like if you look on a website and I find somebody on a dating site that I might like, it's going to be 250 miles away. I'm like, oh shit, forget it. And I'm like exactly like you. I've come to a place where I am okay being single, and if I'm going to be single for the rest of my life, I'm okay with that. But if I meet my soulmate as well, I'm okay with that too. But I'm okay, it's part of acceptance that, part of that spirituality. We'll just take this last comment here, and then I think we're coming to the top of the hour. So, and I did want to make a few real quick announcements, so don't go anywhere. So I will say I think it's a good thing, suggestion, Michael, that you have different points of view among gays and trans people. There should be. Yeah, absolutely, because we're all still our individual, people. Just because I'm gay doesn't mean I, want to dress as a woman. It doesn't mean that I don't either. It's just it's different because it's hard. trying to fit in.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, you're going to have to. Oh, we lost back.
Oh. Mm. Am I frozen too? Can you guys still hear me? Corvin's still here. Oh, good. I can entertain you. Oh, it's just me now. Okay, well, I'll hold down the fort while I thought it was my internet that was not working. Oh my gosh, yes, I was away, and they are so happy to be here, and they love this space downstairs. So, yeah, there's that.
My internet. I told you guys I lived in the rural part of nowhere, like next to Deliverance for those of you who are my age. And so my internet I thought you were gone too.
Yeah.
So I'm glad they brought you back because I lost you first.
Oh no.
Okay. Did I break YouTube? Yeah, Justin, I think you did. Your picture was still up there the whole time for me. I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
You know that. So let's see. What I wanted to do at the very end is I did want to promote your channel, Corvin, of course, and I've learned so much from just watching your videos. They're awesome. So, Jackie, if you're still here, I give you the links to your channel and also to your live coming up tomorrow, because I believe it's going to be 1:30 Eastern Standard Time, which would be 2:30 Central Standard Time for you.
12:30.
So we want to put right. It'll be 12:30. 12:30. Yeah, get those backwards. So we definitely wanted to promote your live for tomorrow, and definitely going to go to it. And in fact, you're going to get a double dose of us tomorrow, because I'm going to go after Corvin in about an hour and a half at around 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And Jackie, I think, is going to put those in there as well with your live and my live. And so I'm excited to follow you. So I don't know how I can follow you, but I'm going to try. We're going to do our tarot interviews. We're going to do the same interactive thing that we did last week. Corvin actually came on to live with me, and we got to talk, for a few minutes, and then someone else would come in. And it's a VR to Regina, Regina Tarot, where she did. You would pull a card, I would pull a card for you, and I would ask a question based upon that card. So yeah, I think that'll be fun. So yeah, exactly. Everyone around here pretty much plays the banjo well. All right, so guys, thank you so much. Unfortunately, do you have anything that you wanted to add before we go?
I don't think so. This has been so much fun. Thank you, Scott, and thank you everyone in the chat. It's great to hang out.
Yeah, same. I just wanted to thank you for being my guest, and I knew you were going to be perfect for this topic, and I appreciate it. And thank you everybody else for in the chat, because you make this possible too with your the communication that comes in and keeps us going. So thank you guys. We appreciate you all. So let's see. My comment posted before I had written what I wanted to say. Oh, I'm sorry, Patrice, if we missed that. We will get to that. We will get to that tomorrow if you want to come. I know you will. If you come into my live and Corvin's live, we'll get to those questions for you. Okay. So, and anybody else that I missed, we will definitely, I will definitely go over those questions if you'll just come to my live tomorrow and come to Corvin's live tomorrow. So, thank you guys, and thank you, Corvin. You've been wonderful. And if you'll hang on with me for a couple minutes after we disappear here. And oh no, it was a blooper, she says. Okay. So thank you everybody. Thank you, Hen, who's up at the dusk of butt cracked on. Thank you, everybody. I appreciate you, and we will see you tomorrow. All right, bye bye.